come and do this. And also thank you heaps to Kira. We've got a lovely relationship with Anglicare and particularly Kira's team who do really cool, innovative work in this space. So really exciting to have this opportunity to learn about what they're doing, which is really relevant to, supporting a lot of our social enterprise members. So just want to say thanks. Thanks for being here. I think Rosie's going to record this as well. And we've also got an AI, Read AI is our notes taking bot. So that's just why that's there as well. Nothing to be scared of. Cool. I'll turn myself off and hand over to Rosie.
Cool. I'll just start with an acknowledgement. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we meet today. I'm on the land of the Wadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and I want to pay my respects to elders past and present. And for those of you who don't know her, I'd like to introduce Kira Rikkers, who's joining us from Anglicare today. Kira is a service designer of innovation and strategy at Anglicare WA, part of that amazing team. It's been doing some great things in WA. So Kira is dedicated to community flourishing. She weaves together her skills in participatory design and project management, and has a strategic communication and systemic advocacy skills. She works relationally to elevate diverse voices and co-create inclusive environments for social change, which is all about what Hopscotch is about. So thank you, Kira, for joining us. We were going to start with maybe a little bit about what the session is going to be, and maybe throwing it back to our participants to touch on any points that they want us to be covering in the presentation today. Since we're a small group, we can make sure it's relevant for who's on the call. So yeah, did you want to start with a little bit of a introduction on the event today, Kira?
Yes, thank you, Rosie, and thank you, Olivia. Thank you so much for having me on behalf of Hopscotch and Anglicare WA. And I've been so looking forward to meeting some of your wonderful members. And actually, some of you may have been at a recent social impact drinks event that was with the alumni for social impact. And unfortunately, I couldn't be there, but I am on that committee as well. So hopefully you'll get to meet some of you in person soon if you're interested in those kinds of events too. But yes, thank you so much for the introduction, Rosie. And it's so nice to hear those lovely words that I put together about myself because they're new. And I thought, I wonder if that makes sense. So to kind of unpack that a little bit, my background is in communications and marketing and project management. And then in 2021, I went and did a postgrad at the Centre for Social Impact, AUWA. And yeah, it changed my career trajectory. It changed who I am, or I think I'm sort of still becoming. And yeah, it's been really transformational, and I'm really, really lucky at Anglicare WA. I get to work on really cool, impactful projects. We've been self-funding demonstration projects over the past 3 years, and before that, I think there was a bit more of an internal continuous improvement focus. So this is really where we've been able to work outwardly and partner with others and do cool stuff, bring back evidence to government and to the sector. And so Hopscotch is one of those projects. So the reason why we thought this would be of interest to you as a group, I mean, I'm sure you all have different hats on and different lenses. And that's, as Rosie said, we'd like to get to know those a little bit and maybe what you're hoping to get out of this session. But essentially, because I led the Hopscotch program and co-facilitated it, so it was co-designed and we had lived experience consultant and all of that kind of stuff. So I'll take you through, the plan is to take you through a bit of how we work in our team, explain how Hopscotch came to be and why it exists, what it is, where it's at now, what worked well, what we learned, what the outcomes were, just all of those kind of things. We've got quite a bit of time, so I'm happy to kind of drill down into any areas that people are interested in. So yeah, I'll probably leave it there and would love to open it up if people feel comfortable, or even if you want to share in the chat, or feel free to unmute. I'm not sure how WASIC normally runs these, but yeah, just feel free to say hello and let me know if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to focus on, and I can do that for you.
We can start if you want. Give an example. We have a really big focus on work integrated social enterprises. I mean, that's and how we create pathways, or I don't know, that's the name of the webinar. How do you support people who from vulnerable backgrounds into work is like a really big focus for us. So I'm keen to learn about what you're doing so that we can help our members who work specifically in this space. I've also got a background in jobs and employment and training, and I really love this area. So I'd love to learn more about how do you support businesses. It really it's really difficult and challenging to work with some people who have these backgrounds. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here and to learn today. That was really succinct, wasn't it? Sorry.
That's okay. It was very clear, Olivia. Now I'll come in next. So Loop employs people from vulnerable backgrounds and provide flexible training and work opportunities. So for us, we're interested in the Hopscotch program to see how that can be a pathway for people into employment. We then are also developing employment pathways for people beyond Loop as well. So there's a photo of our CEO, Franco. So yes, so we're looking at opportunities of where we can get people referred in for employment and developing those opportunities to train, increase their actual skills with us, as well as confidence building, so that we can prepare them for employment beyond us. But the idea for us is that we're happy to keep people with us for as long as they're happy and we're happy, but also to give them that knowledge that they can move on when they want to.
Thanks, Sarah. Kylie, would you like to pop in next?
Hello. Yes, sorry, I ducked away for 2 seconds before when you were saying hi, so sorry about that. Hello. Yeah, so I'm Kylie Brown. I'm working part-time at the Royal Perth Hospital Research Foundation, so as community engagement manager there. And I'm also have done last year a social impact fellowship with Social Impact Hub in Sydney, so I'm really interested in social impact broadly. And have lots of very, very early stages ideas of maybe starting something. I'm really interested in maybe helping to support people who have just become new parents, particularly women, but I'm in the really early research stage. So I'm just interested that, you're doing something to support a particular cohort and particular parents, and just here to hear what you're up to. Thank you for the opportunity.
Persia, I might pinpoint you to say hello next, if that's okay.
Of course. Hello. Can you hear me this morning?
Yeah.
Having a lot of issues with my internet, so I'm hoping that you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. My name is Persia. I'm the Safe Futures Coordinator, run as a social enterprise, and we employ and support women leaving crisis and refuge through our employment program. So at any one time, we'll have about 5 women employed with us, and they partake in our program that runs in as a 2-phase system. One, they're working in the warehouse, making our beautiful gift boxes that generates the income for the program. And the other part is working with me to help develop a very unique and holistic employment pathway for them to, exit crisis. So we kind of operate as a little stepping stone into the real world. I guess my challenge that I'm facing every day is how to facilitate that pathway into the real world. And I think working with other social enterprises and Hopscotch is a perfect example. It's like, how can we help facilitate this transition into the workplace in a safe and sustainable way, so we can keep these women in the workforce in a really empowered, chosen way, so they're not returning to their perpetrators or back into homelessness. And very challenging space to be in, but working with some pretty incredible organizations and people. So very excited to learn for Hopscotch.
Thank you. Oh, we're so lucky with the people on the call today. I thought these were 3 different case studies that are actually going to be really amazing to talk about during our session. I think that's all we've got on the call at the moment, unless Cassie wanted to say hello. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, that took me a little bit to get on board. I'm Cassie. I'm from the Workforce Australia Local Jobs Program for Perth North. So I'm just attending on behalf of Jodie Dutton. I think we've sort of had interactions with most people that are on the call today. So hi.
And Rosie, just to let you know, there might be a couple of people drifting in. Some people couldn't get the Zoom, so I'm just in the background
Oh,
sending
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Cool. I think that's it for now. So, Kira, would you like to go back to our amazing tech skills that we definitely did earlier?
Yes, I will. I think I need to expand so I can see the share button. There it is. How's that? Is that looking good?
Yeah, looking good.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, and hello to any new people who are joining. So, I'm really proud of this project, and it's definitely been a labor of love for me, and it's sort of my baby. So I think it's been a real journey because we actually got to run the pilot in 2023, and then for the 12 or so months since then, we've been spending a lot of time focusing on scaling in different directions. So scaling up into policy with DEWR. We've had 5 meetings with their employment policy team, helping to inform their future employment policy based on the learnings from Hopscotch. Scaling out, meeting with lots of sector peers who are interested in this work and some of them doing this kind of work already. And also scaling kind of internally into Anglicare WA and thinking about, are there any other places or sites within Anglicare's remit across the state who might be suitable as a site to host Hopscotch? So at the moment, I wanted to give you a kind of overview of where it's at and say it's a model that's been tested and we're openly sharing it and we are available for coaching, partnering, whatever that looks like. But currently, it's not funded. And I'll explain a little bit about why that is as well. But I will just say that if any of you saw the recent Work Foundations grant opportunity that came out through DEWR, we kind of tied ourselves up in knots trying to see if we could make that work. And we found some great partners to work with. But in the end, the requirements were too restrictive for us. And so we had to write them a letter to say, thank you so much. This all looks really good and we really wish we could do it. But these are the reasons why we can't make it fit in, and we're still really open to talking. So I think to be clear on what that was, it was the requirements around needing to create new roles over and above existing roles for clients to be employed in, and then for them to be also sustained in the long term. And Anglicare's not currently an employment services provider, and we don't, even though we're a large organisation, we don't have the ability to just add on a bunch of new roles because we're funded usually through contracts for delivering services. So anyway, that's some of our challenges, and Hopscotch has had so much interest and so much support, and I think there's little parts of it that have actually gone into informing and inspiring other programs. There's one in particular in Esperance that has started this year, opening doors, that's taken some inspiration from us, and there's a few others. So anyway, I'm really excited to share some more detail with you today. And of course, I wanted to also share that the place where we piloted Hopscotch was on the land of the Binjirrub Noongar people down in Mandurah in Dudley Park. So yeah, there's the work that we do is place-based, and so it always feels really, really grounded and really important to ground in the local Aboriginal culture and knowledge. And we're really grateful for being able to walk alongside Aboriginal people and their elders in this work. So this is a little overview. So I thought, before I kind of go back into the history, I'll just give you a snapshot so you know what it is we're talking about. I'm not sure if anyone's been to a presentation about Hopscotch before, so I'll just assume not much prior knowledge. So it's a pre-employment program. It's basically pre-employment support, a group-based program, and it runs during a school term. So it's the main purpose of it is to be family friendly. And so it's run during school hours during school term. So it's available for implementation or adaptation. I'm available. I've got my contact details at the end, and I'm sure they'll be shared with you as well. And so this non-judgmental support for parents who they've had their kids, they've been caring for them, now they're ready for something new. Their identity is tied in with being a parent, and they have usually a lot of complexity going on as well, but they also need to boost their household income. So one of the things that we looked at with Hopscotch was partnering with Community Skills WA, who is a peak body with a remit around the community sector and care work in particular, so aged care and disability care. And so we tested something with them for the pilot. So you can see there, it's also could be applicable across youth work or early years, so playgroup. There's some new skill sets that Community Skills WA have been developing since Hopscotch happened. So they've been working on, some of you may be aware already, a youth work skill set and a playgroup skill set, which could also fit really beautifully in with the Hopscotch model. The other option, or one of the other options, is the New Opportunities for Women, Cert 1, which is what the Esperance crew are doing with Opening Doors. And so it's this group-based program, as I mentioned. There's not just the formal training and work placements, but also this personal development. And I know for some of you who might be already running employment programs, you may already have your version of this. So I'm really interested to hear more about that too, but I'm sure there's a lot of alignment where what we were doing, we were hoping to advocate into the kind of training sector where the for-profit RTOs don't often have those additional kind of personal development parts to their program. So this was something that we tested with an RTO called Training Unlimited, who Community Skills connected us with. And so that we could do that in partnership with them and a group of other partners. And actually something that we didn't get to test as much as we would have liked to in the first pilot was around that supported employment part, keeping that sustained employment. But we have got some people, and I'll share their outcomes later, who have gone into employment and traineeships and things. And so we've had a little bit of ongoing support for them. But that's something that we were really surprised to find in the training sector that bridge wasn't already happening as smoothly as we would have kind of anticipated. So I think that was a big learning for us. And then you can see there, so we've suggested FTE, so some resources wherever they sit, because across a group of partners, you might have resources coming together from different from different employers, essentially, or different workplaces to help pull the program together. And so it's very flexible in that sense as well. So obviously the program needs to be coordinated, administered and facilitated, and then there's liaison that happens with the partners that are in the training and employment, or if you are that partner, then maybe it's about who you might be able to bring in to do the facilitation part. Then there's also the creche, because that was one of the key things that we were really testing for was childcare, lack of childcare being a big barrier for a lot of parents. So creche was a big part of the program and also quite a big part of the budget as well. So for the 10 weeks, 2 days a week, I think it was about $10,000. So it would depend on who your provider is and all of that, but that was definitely one of the kind of hard costs of the program. And then you have things like transport assistance and mentoring, which some of you would probably already also be doing as well. And so the idea is to do this place-based delivery somewhere convenient and somewhere trusted. So we worked with a child and parent centre that Anglicare runs, and I'll explain a little bit more about that too. But I think there are also opportunities to host in lots of different settings. I guess the main aim there is that it's somewhere that's easy for people to get to and that it's accessible and not too overwhelming. So, for example, we talked about where training providers often provide their training, or they are at the TAFE, and often it's places that people don't know and they're a bit further away from home. So really it always is going to depend on the cohort that you're servicing and where they're based. And then service establishment. So you can really start in any term. And when we say start, I guess that's the classroom portion, if you like. So there's a blueprint that is in draft form that I'm happy to share with everyone if you're interested. That goes into a lot more detail around the planning and then kind of the active phase, which is, that kind of 1-term phase, and then the post. So that's just a little snapshot of Hopscotch, and I thought I'd kind of zoom out to share with you a little bit about how we work in ShiftLab, which is the name of the innovation team at Anglicare WA. I've been here for 2.5 years, and the current strategic plan, we look after an initiative that's called Find and Test New Solutions. So we investigate promising ideas and transform them into scalable solutions, partnering with others. We scan different sources to look for trends. We do horizon scanning every year. And some of the things behind me here are actually a result of some of our horizon scanning. So these are our key themes that we're working to at the moment. And the one that Hopscotch fits into is called Pathways into Livelihoods. And we use those insights to guide our projects. And I think our reason for being is really about everyone having access to grow a good life. And so some of you might know a little bit about the Sunshine Project, which is a bit of a precursor to Hopscotch. I think we've had about 6 projects in the past 3 years, of which Hopscotch is one. So projects advance through a rigorous process that ensures that we're listening deeply to understand multiple perspectives and gathering aligned partners together before generating the solutions. So that's the co-design part, and then testing the promising solutions in the field, evaluating them and sharing our learnings, which we're doing now. And this is the 3 Horizons model from the Griffith, well, it's had a few different names, Griffith University Centre for Systems Innovation, and Ingrid Burkett and her team. So just to give a sense of which horizon, I suppose, ShiftLab is intending to work within, which is, you can see the red line is business as usual, showing cracks and kind of declining. And then at the same time, you have this blue line, which comes up in the middle, which is Horizon 2, which is innovating opportunities for better futures. And so we sort of see ourselves as sitting in that space. So we're testing out new things, not sure how they're going to work or if they're going to work, but hoping that the learnings will then go on to inform the green line, which is Horizon 3, and kind of create enabling conditions for those better futures to emerge. So we love that model. And it helps us, I think, understand like the importance of the work that we're doing and where it sits and why why we're doing it, and that it's not necessarily that these things will kind of go on forever, but it's more just a transition phase where we're trying to improve things along the way. And so this is a few of the projects that kind of led us to Hopscotch. I mentioned the Sunshine Project, that one's in the middle. So 100 Families WA is really well known. There's also a broader 100 Families project as well, but this is the local one, and it has a list of all the partners there, of which Anglicare was one. So it was about the ways in which services and systems can actually make it hard for people seeking help, and surfacing those. And then from there, we started a two-year demonstration project called Sunshine, which is about radically different roles that we might all play in creating conditions to grow the good life. And so now Sunshine is actually being scaled and embedded across 5 sites. So my colleague Beth is heading up that work between Anglicare and RUA. So some of them are RUA sites, some of them are Anglicare. And then through basically through collaborative action research projects like these, we were hearing over and over again from families that good work contributes to a good life. So that's where Hopscotch came from. What could it look like to design a pathway into paid work for parents that places family life at the centre? So really about being family friendly and putting family first. So hopes for the future, they rise with the prospect of paid work, which includes setting a good example for children, being able to afford more or better necessities, forming friendships and social connections, and having structure and purpose in life. And a source of income can be a pathway out of significant hardship, but parents looking for these paid work opportunities often face multiple social and practical barriers to participating in the workforce, including access to childcare and transport. So that's where we came in 2023, testing a low-stress, accessible pathway into paid work in the care work sector for and with a cohort of parents in Mandurah. So this slide goes into a bit more about what we heard about what some of those barriers are. So the reason for sharing this is that we had to design for these things. So access to affordable childcare, design some childcare into it, design some transport into it, availability of flexible work and study, trying to work with partners to test out their level of flexibility and kind of push at the edges of that, acknowledging that sometimes traditional recruitment pathways can be hard to access, so trying to create a bridge there. And then also addressing some of those household obligations and money mindsets. So even explicitly acknowledging those and having support from money mentors to come in and talk about those kinds of things with the group. Intergenerational unemployment. So I guess really important focusing on kind of gifts and strengths and contribution and going with where the energy is and where people's strengths are to help them navigate that and see themselves as someone who wants to contribute, who would like to be doing paid work, and then to enable people to get some qualifications behind them as well as building their confidence. And this part is about our ageing population, which we've all heard, the growth of the care sector into the future. According to Jim Chalmers, the needed growth in the care economy would be one of the most prominent shifts in our society over the next 40 years. So that's where we combine those two things together, but it's not to say that Hopscotch has to be limited to that, as I mentioned earlier. So this is us, this is me on at the meet and greet, which we did just before school holidays so that people could come in, do their enrolment and then have their school holiday break, come back and start the term. So they kind of knew what to expect, they've met each other, they've met us, they've been to the place, just that kind of establishing that safe psychological safety and physical safety. There's a little video, it just goes for 2 minutes, I think, about our child and parent centres. So there's a big network across WA and Anglicare WA runs 2 of them currently. So hopefully the sound works. I'll see, maybe Rosie can give me the thumbs up if it's working.
Welcome to the Child and Parent Centre. The foundation of the CPC is mixed by Anglicare WA, along with our funders, the Department of Education. Our vision is a just and fair Western Australia where all people thrive. We show respect and compassion, and people are at the centre of all we do. We are fiercely inclusive of everyone, and we walk alongside people and our communities to inspire trust. We look for new ways to do things better, and we speak up and act even when that's hard. Our people are deeply connected to these values, and we drive these values daily in our work. We build our Child and Parent Centre home on the strong foundation of the Child Safe Framework, using trauma-informed practice in everything we do. Our Reconciliation Action Plan drives our work at and through the CPC. Our Working Together Agreement sits across every part of the CPC. It's in our playgroups, guides our local area committee, and is demonstrated daily between the partners in the CPC. All our team and partners have input and sign up to this agreement. We have a tool shed attached to the Child and Parent Centre. These tools help us to provide focused, well-planned, delivered and evaluated programs and services that meet the needs of the local community, that make a difference for our families. These tools help us to understand how families can move at and through our CPC, and we use program logic and results-based accountability to help us see how we are making this difference. Other resources in the shed are our policies and procedures that help to guide and shape what and how we plan and deliver. We have practice consultants that help us to be focused and aware of what we do and how we do it. They help us ensure how we work with our families is strong, informed and evidence-based. Our staff, students, volunteers and partner parents are the sunshine that provides the energy to help to nurture and grow the CPC. Supported by Anglicare WA, the team is motivated, supported, skilled and self-reflective. We believe that we need to be the change we wish to see in others. Families can come into our house through many different pathways. There are no wrong doors into our place. They may be a part of the CPC by attending activities in local schools and other places within the local community. We use the hub and spoke model to build the physical place as our base, but we radiate out to other parts of the community to link with our local services and agencies. We have partners that visit us and live nearby that help us to develop, grow and support families. These partners help us provide services and programs to our families that are needed. There are many pathways into and out of the CPC to our partners' places. Our funder, also our partner, helps us connect, link and learn together with other CPCs around the state, and through this we share ideas to support and grow our communities. They are the roads and highways between our centres and organisations. Our local area committee, our LAC, are our honeybees. They cross-pollinate and fertilise our garden of families. They carry information and share resources. They help to keep us connected and keep us moving forward in a focused direction. Finally, but most importantly, we do all this to help to grow, nurture and support our garden, our families and their children. We help to grow our parents and caregivers so they can grow healthy, well-adjusted children that bounce into school ready to learn and ready to be a part of the community. We work alongside our parents to increase their knowledge, confident to be the best parents that they can be for their kids. We help them to grow tall and strong next to their kids. We work hard to grow strong, resilient families who will contribute to help build strong, vibrant, thriving communities.
Okay. That's a little bit about the CPCs. So I think in the next couple of years, they're undertaking a review of the Child and Parent Centre network model. And so something that we are advocating for is for something like Hopscotch to become a part of that model, because currently it's not really core business for the CPCs to run employability type programs for parents, but you can see how the flourishing of the family could really benefit from this type of program. So because they have expertise in child development and also access to, a space to run a program and on-site childcare, they were really well positioned to support work readiness for parents and for us to try out Hopscotch there. So that is something that I have been recommending or sharing with other interested parties, is to consider which kind of site might be best for something like this, which includes the children and the parents, because you've got the childcare on site. Anyway, this is the kind of design that we created for Hopscotch, which was meant to have this feel of being, accessible, playful, fun, safe, child-friendly, all of that. We've already talked about a bit of this. The important thing here is that we co-designed with the parents to learn what works best for them and refine the model. And so we were constantly refining throughout that design process. And this is a bit about the journey into work, I suppose, and where Hopscotch kind of fits in. So you can see from left to right, it's a bit of a crude approximation. It might be a little bit different to ones that you have used, but starts with motivation for work, and then it kind of goes from there. And so here in the middle is where we see Hopscotch, where people are starting to access support. And then this kind of dotted line section next to it on the right is where we can see more focus could be put for future iterations of the model. This is just a quote from one of our participants who had this need to find a career to suit their family life. She said she has friends in the industry. She meant the disability care industry, but she was really nervous because it was totally new for her and she didn't know if it would be the right fit. So that was something that she said along the way. So these were the design questions. I thought I'd include this stuff because as a service designer, this underpins the approach to work that I have and that we have in this team. And so I'll share with you the 3 design questions that we started with when we started Hopscotch. And in case it's the kind of thing that you might be interested to consider as well. So thinking about reducing the barriers to employment, will participants experience a greater sense of purpose and contribution, and will they feel equipped to make the jump into paid work, which we know can be quite a big jump. Number 2, by working with the employers to understand the importance of soft entry into work for this cohort, will they be willing to adapt and see potential benefits for their workforce? So that's something that we're always interested in testing further. And I think that's where WISEs can really also help to scaffold that journey for people as well, to get into, as someone said earlier, into the real world, into the wider world. And then number 3 is about building the social fabric. So it's about those community connections and what additional unintended consequences may come, which is always a really important question in design work. So I'll come back to those at the end as well. And then these were our design principles. So we borrowed from the Sunshine Project design principles, and we found that they were really applicable here too. And so we just adjusted them a bit and started from there. So familiarity, having a familiar and convenient setting. Parents are nearby every day dropping their kids off at school because the CPC is co-located with the school. Then you've got good life. So starting with a vision of the good life, it connects families to what motivates them and builds their enthusiasm to pursue growth. Contribution, which is unpacking who they are, their identity, and what they have to offer. Putting it into practice with helping activities to build their sense of confidence and achievement. safe and delightful, consciously creating a low stress, accessible pathway that's social and enjoyable. So it's not just about the individual going through the program, it's about everyone together, helping each other and supporting and learning from each other, which was probably really a beautiful kind of unintended consequence in a way, was to see how that came to fruition with this group. This is our trainer, Cara. This was on her last day. She brought roses and thank yous for everyone. Stabilised transition, understanding of the family's dynamics and what's needed at the whole household or family level for a person seeking employment to succeed, because it's not just them. Again, it's not just them alone. They're sort of within their family system. And so brokerage and other supports to stabilise the family through the transition period of adjusting to work, different routines with money, childcare, transport, chores, all those kinds of things in family life. And then the sixth one is investing in growth and development. So equipping people with helpful tools, mindsets, and concrete skills to prepare them for the workforce, freeing them up to be present and enjoy being rewarded for their work. This is just a bit about the governance. So we actually we've got an advisory group across our broader project for Pathways into Livelihood, which is called Flow State. Hopscotch is the first demonstration project from that. And so the advisory group has a couple of Govy partners, and then Anglicare and Community Skills, and then the project group, there's a bit of a crossover there. So you can see there the training partner, TU, is there. And then in the middle, you've got lived experience. So we had this job seeker who has faced barriers to employment in the past, and she came on board as our lived experience consultant and did a lot of the pre-design work with us. And she decided that she actually wanted to join the cohort. So she became one of the participants in Hopscotch because she felt like it was something that could really benefit her. And then we considered the cohort to all be the co-design group. And so we brought in, so I think there was some, level of transparency that it was something new. We were trialing it. We were learning. Anything that they could teach us would benefit other people in the future. So this is a bit about the methodology. So it talks about human-centered design. That personal development piece that I mentioned before, followed by formal training and work placements. So we managed to do 3 units, which forms a skill set, in just a few days, and I'll show you what that schedule looked like, and fitting it within a school day as well, which isn't always the case. So I think just looking at where that flexibility is possible, and asking the questions can make a really big difference to people's experience of the program. Sometimes, like for example, at the start, the trainer wanted to do a literacy and numeracy test, but we hadn't been able to let the participants know that that was going to happen. And so we advocated to say, hey, we're going to have these women in our classroom for 3 weeks before you come in. Can we just informally assess their literacy skills? And their numeracy skills are actually not applicable or not needed for the type of work placement they're going to be doing. So can we also skip that? So that was something, an example of, I think, just being curious and asking those questions about what is non-negotiable and what are the things that can be adjusted. Then you can see we offered a $50 voucher for each day of participation to each person, just helping to make ends meet. And for some of them, they ended up saving that towards Christmas for the kids, so they could spend it on whatever they wanted. But we looked into payments, like whether we would try to pay them an hourly or a day rate or something like that. But then, as you would know, it was really complicated with all of the limits to people's welfare payments, and we decided to go with vouchers just to simplify things, because we really want to test that more, but I think some of you might even be further along that journey than we have been. And then it talks about the mentoring and support. So we did one-on-one mentoring calls in between classes so that we could just check in and see if there was anything going on that we could help with brokerage, or anything that people were struggling with inside or outside of the classroom. And this is just the ways that we scaffolded. So the new one here is probably that personal ID and life admin stuff. So this, again, is probably something that's part and parcel of any programs you might be running already, but in kind of traditional mainstream kind of job ready pathways and things like that, sometimes that assistance isn't as in-depth. So if somebody doesn't have any personal ID, they might not get someone to help them do their form, go with them to submit it, pay for it, and all of those kinds of things. So that was just something that we've shared back with government, and I think they've been starting to include some of those things in more recent grants, which is good to see. And this is our cohort. So we had 7 mums. We opened it up to any parent, but we ended up with mums probably because of the design of Hopscotch. But it would also be really interesting to test with other parents and dads as well. So you can see we sort of loosely grouped them into 3 little groups. Older mums juggling school and health of themselves and their kids. Then the middle group is, they got the younger kids in daycare, they've got a little bit of work experience. They just want to get out there again once they've got their kids sorted. And then the third group, which is mums who have been single parenting, and they sort of have these dreams of, you know, having their own car, having their own place, not really sure of their direction. And so you can see here, these are the reasons that they sort of gave for joining, which is wanting to do something different, get behind myself, you know, the timing with my family, I need a change of career path, need that financial stability, want to get to know new people. There's a lot about doing something different, learning new things. See what tools I have and provide for my children. So there's a lot of similarities across those, but everyone coming at it from, you know, their own experience. And this is a bit of an example of someone's story when we first met them, who they'd done some night fill at Coles, but due to health challenges had to stop working. But they could already recognise that their own experience with their health challenges would help them to understand other people going through something like that. So she could already see how that was a transferable skill. Talked about her kids a bit. She's a good mediator between her kids, and people tell her she's calm. You know, so you could kind of see where she's starting to piece together, oh, care work, that sounds interesting. Maybe there's something here for me. I liked aged care and childcare. I don't know if I can do that if I can't drive. So that was something, again, we could design for. So we just included the opportunity to go for your learner's permit as part of the program because we were hearing that a lot. And several people did, as you'll see. And so you can see because of cost of living going up, there's also that need for some more income. And also just that feeling of readiness down the bottom. I'm ready to go back into the workforce. I'm ready to try. So this is getting into some of the nuts and bolts of the program. We've made it into a little hopscotchy vibe, and Rob from Ebenezer said to me, I don't remember there being 4 squares in the hopscotch going across, so he told me off for that, and I said, sorry, there's too many things, I couldn't fit them on the page. So you can see there's the structured self-discovery and the care work training, which ends in a qualification of having that skill set. It's you can get recognition of prior learning for that if you go on to do other certificates, which some people have done. You've got those service and ER referrals. Anglicare's big. We have a lot of services. We could do some of that stuff internally. That was really helpful for us, but of course we can also partner on that too. transport, mentoring, work placement, brokerage, the vouchers, all of that kind of admin-y stuff, the stationery and printing. And then we did this big in-reach piece, and I'll share with you next the partners that came in. So instead of people having to kind of go out to lots of different places to get things, we just invited them in, and we also invited them to have lunch with us. So we'd say we provided lunch for everyone every day, and that was a real, I think, an opportunity for people to kind of open up, and we'd hear more about what was going on at home. And we also could just have that time out from being in the program, but still have that kind of togetherness and build those friendships and relationships. And then those guest speakers and in-reach partners could also come in, join us for morning tea or join us for lunch, and then speak, so that people could start feeling comfortable with them, and they weren't just kind of in and out like, oh, I'm in a real rush, I'm so busy and important, but actually, you're one of us and we're all here together. So just being present, I think that was a really big thing. Then you can see the creche, the resume help and stuff, those community connections, the work clearances. So they had to do NDIS. Oh, thanks, Sarah. They had to do NDIS, police clearances, working with children checks, all kinds of things. So you're helping with those. And then these post-program affirmation messages, which I'll share some with you. This wasn't something that you could actually test throughout. Because it was such a small group, I actually texted everyone every morning to say, hey, good morning, we're looking forward to seeing you at this time. Remember to bring this thing. And then, so if anyone was sort of feeling like they got out on the wrong side of the bed that day or weren't feeling up to it, we could have a conversation, and I could try to encourage them and persuade them to come in or help them with transport to get in and that kind of thing. But at the end, we asked everyone on graduation day to write some affirmation messages for themselves and for the others, and then I set them up in Message Media, which is an automated messaging system that we have access to, and sent out those affirmations during end of year school holidays to say, keep going, you've got this, and just reminding them of that feeling of being in Hopscotch and being ready to do the next thing, but acknowledging that school holidays is a really hard time to start something. So just kind of helping to bridge that time. So these are all the partners. There's a bunch of work placement partners at the top. So those were the ones who actually hosted people for their work placements during the program, which instead of doing, I think it's 70 hours or something, we did 24, but they still, that was sufficient for them to pass their qualification. So they got assessed in the workplace for all their things. And then you can see all the in-reach partners. So a lot of them that you probably have relationships with as well. So we talked about no interest loans, did Dress for Success, came in, Food Bank came in. We got everyone referrals to Food Bank to go in the future. And then a bunch of them there, which are all about kind of self-care and gifts and strengths as well. And then down the bottom, you can see some of the other partners, including the schools and Parenting Connection. So this is the structure of the program. And as I mentioned, there is a service blueprint. So do reach out if you would like to see that. And I'm happy to take you through it in more detail. It's a very detailed one, so I'm not going to share it here because it would be too small to see on the screen. But you can see in the middle the green and yellow, care, work training and work placement. That's kind of your stock standard stuff, and then adding the self-discovery and adding the looking ahead part at the end. What's new here? You can see the exact units that they did under the green one. And we supported them to attend. So if they were on their work placement, they still got the vouchers. So even though they weren't being paid to do the work experience, we still kept that going. And we made sure at the end, it didn't just end at the work placement, but actually came back together again and celebrated. So this is what the program actually looked like. It was 20 days across 10 weeks. So that's 2 days a week. There were back-to-back days, and that worked really well because people could kind of get a bit more immersed. And so then we're like, okay, see you tomorrow. And then we could also kind of have that sense of continuity. but it wasn't too much of an ask on their time with all their other family stuff going on. So this purple part at the start is that self-discovery. So you can see the theme. Each day had a theme. And then if you go to the orange bit next, that's the care work training. So those are all the things that the units that they did. And so we squished all of those 3 units into 8 days of school hours, which was pretty amazing. And it wasn't rushed. I think that's the important thing to note, is that it was adapted. So they still had everything, they still learned everything they needed to learn, and they still were supported to do that. And but they got in and out of the program in 1 term, and they also had time for building their confidence as well. And so those are the work placements in white, which was the 4 days, and then the 2 days at the end, celebrating how far we've come. And when we got to the end, most of the feedback was, would you change anything? I would make it longer. I didn't want it to end. And I think that was just, you know, testament to everyone really enjoying being in the space. So everyone graduated, which was quite remarkable. This was just one of the survey questions about what the participants found the most valuable. So you can see the highest ranking ones. There's the pink and that khaki colour. So that's getting a qualification and being in a fun social group environment. So that's the basics, but the group thing is something that's not always there in terms of it being fun and social. Like you might be in a group, but you're just sitting there going through your, going through the motions. And then the things that were rated as a 4, connecting with other services, help with life admin, so forms and ID, and then getting workplace experience. So all really practical things there. And then when you get down to 3, help with interview and resume preparation, freeing up time to spend on myself, and the mentoring and career pathway support. And then you have getting to know myself better was 2. And then the ER, so emergency relief. I think I've stuffed up one of the colours here. Oh, my good life vision, sorry, was quite high. So that was, we did vision boards with just cutting up magazines and put a photo of their family in the middle. And that was done at the start to say, like, what is it that you're actually hoping for in the future? What does a good life look like for you? And just connecting back in with that sense of like, what's important to me and what's important to my family. These are some of the things that we noticed. I'm just checking the time. There's a lot of these things that you would have seen as well with your clients. Some of the things, oh yes, you can have a replay. Some of the things are, I suppose, about the challenges and the barriers that families are facing. So this sense of constant overwhelm, challenges in the family. So for example, food and housing insecurity, kids being suspended from school, excess rubbish at home that needed clear out, and family conflict, things like that. Financial pressures. Some of the families are coping with huge court fines, $10,000 or more. And so the Work and Development Permit, or WDP scheme, is an opportunity for those to be reduced through doing training. So the CPC actually wasn't set up as a WDP provider, but we managed to get that done through Hopscotch. Digital access and literacy was a big one as well. A lot of people don't have computer access at home, and some have intermittent access to a working phone. Some don't have internet at home, have to tether to a family or friend's mobile to get online. We made laptops available for everyone in the classroom, which we were able to just borrow through Anglicare's IT team, but it could also be an expense if you need to get access to that, or you could maybe get someone to sponsor that for you. Health and mental health, big one. Motivational capital, so just acknowledging, and this is the same for all of us, the easier it is to do something, the more likely it is that we are to do it. Like, how many of us have so many things that we need to do that we haven't done as well? It's not just this cohort. So trying to make the time convenient, the location convenient, doing the catering, doing the transport, pitching the content at the right level, the more the participants' motivation multiplies. Sense of possibility. So they showed themselves they could complete something challenging, but also that they could do so despite the many challenges that they're facing. So they didn't have to wait until all the challenges went away before being able to start and actually complete this program, which was quite incredible. I think that was probably something that people get underestimated a lot. And so that built on their sense of possibility, and they could advocate for themselves. They could do the same with a paid job with the right support. You can see their relationships first. So that was really important to their approach. The strengths of the parents. So some of the collective strengths that showed up included accountability, cohesion, support, and the individual strengths: resilience, ability to prioritize, pride, generosity, wisdom, empathy, resourcefulness, and self-sufficiency. So lots and lots of strengths there that are great for people who, wanting to get into work and have all of those things behind them. Having a feel-good space. So everyone who encountered the project left feeling lighter and more hopeful. That included staff and community partners as well as the participants. So I think that's a really special thing that you can create when you have that control over the space that you're creating. And one of the ways we did that was through checking in and checking out every day. So everyone who was present was invited to join the circle and share as much or as little as they felt comfortable about how they were feeling. And that was really grounding and helped people to feel present and feel connected, and then also to kind of start and end well. So they would kind of end well before going back to the rest of their day, picking up the kids and things like that. And then the job design part, that's a really big piece that we don't have time to unpack today, but really interested in further conversations about that. So back to our design questions. Number one, we asked about participants' sense of purpose and contribution and feeling equipped to move into work. And we'll see a bit about that in the next slide, which is the outcomes. Number two, will workplaces and organisations be willing to adapt? This is something that we'd like to explore further, and would love to hear what you've learned, as I've said before. And then number three, what additional unintended consequences may come in that kind of community connection space. So one of the things was the aged care centre is basically located, so the primary school, the CPC, which is Child and Parent Centre, and the aged care residential facility are all sharing the same oval. And so something that's been discussed is to do an intergenerational playgroup. And so there was no relationship previously between the aged care and the CPC. So that's something that is kind of a new possibility. One of the mums who was in Hopscotch was on the PNC committee at the school, and she actually recruited 3 of the other mums to join that committee through meeting them through Hopscotch and becoming friends with them. And that PNC committee was at risk of actually closing because there wasn't enough interest. So things like that you could just never anticipate. And then volunteering opportunities. So like Money Mentors, I said, come and spoke with us about financial health and mindsets and things like that. And they had opened up to the participants and said that they're volunteering opportunities with them for people who want to get some more work experience. And so this is the outcomes. At the end, there's a QR code to see the full insights report, but also, I'm sure Rosie and I can send it to you afterwards. But you can see here those little tulips represent confidence levels, self-reported confidence levels, pre and post. And you can see everybody had a different intent when they started, and everyone had a different mix of the steps that they were able to take and the barriers that they overcame. Their development, some of them through the brokerage got new prescription glasses, which helped them get their learner's permit because some of them didn't have sufficient eyesight to be able to drive. So everything sort of had this domino effect of getting people closer, further along their journey to work. and you can see some of the results. So there was a 100% retention rate, even among these families dealing with complex issues such as family violence, children's school suspension, food insecurity, chronic health issues, and housing instability. Participants have shown significant growth in confidence and have overcome a range of barriers, most transitioning to employment, further education, or traineeships. And we've had 2 reunions since Hopscotch finished to just check in with everyone and connect them with services or provide them with references, things like that. And we've been sharing these learnings in a number of forums, as well as the offer to coach others in the model. And yeah, that's of interest, as I mentioned earlier. These are some of the things that the participants said. It's really good for mothers, letting them know that they're not alone. It's helped me change my future planning for the better. Being with peers in a safe place made that achievable. It's not easy to return to work. Needs to make it easier for women. And push through. You're in safe hands. And the top left one is probably the one that I love the most. Is there's this opportunity to gain skills and confidence, because after you have children, you give so much to your kids that you can lose a bit of yourself. So getting that confidence back, and how powerful that is for financial freedom as well. These are some of the affirmation messages. So we put them in Canva and just made them into little like phone backgrounds. So we sent those out during the school holidays afterwards. And this is some words from our partners about the project. So anyway, I won't go through those, but sector feedback as well. So lots of different councils and community organisations, and also DEWR and Workforce Australia. Yeah, and so this essentially the resourcing that you would need to run something like Hopscotch. I mean, you could borrow elements from it, but if you wanted to run the whole model, if you've got funding, or if you want to partner to go for some funding together, these are the kind of things we'd be looking at. So it could, probably to be more sustainable, you'd want to have 2 people. They wouldn't need to be full-time, but kind of sharing that load in case anyone was off sick or unavailable, that other person could kind of step in to facilitate. You also have those days where you've got essentially the formal training happening and the work placement. So there's a bit of juggling there, and it could potentially be done by one person, but this is just how Anglicare would run it if we were going to run it again. The team at Dudley Park's Child and Parent Centre is really keen to run it again, so we've actually explored a few different grant opportunities for that. Line management and supervision, so that's just, I guess, dependent on where that best sits, who's going to be managing these staff members. The training costs, we used fee-free training, so that was in kind through Job Ready. And then you have some of these material costs, so gift cards, so the vouchers, in-reach and brokerage costs, creation catering, your guest speakers, if they charge. A lot of them didn't charge. Venue and laptop hire, which we had in kind from Anglicare WA, and then if you want staff coaching. So we've powered through so much this morning. This is the QR code to go to the Insights report, and that's my email address there. I feel like you probably have some questions, so yeah, I'd love to open it up.
Thanks, Kira. That's an amazing presentation and such detail. I feel like for all of us on the call, this is really interesting to see how it can be designed and done well. Although sometimes when I'm listening to this, I'm a bit shocked by why this isn't done all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And just want to say hi to Anastasia, who joined us during the call. And Anastasia works in circular economy fashion and in that sort of area. And we've also been joined by Marie Mishra. So hello to you as well, Marie. I will go to a Q&A section now. I did write down a few questions. Maybe I can start off with one of those. Firstly, a comment around Anglicare potentially trialing a social enterprise childcare centre. It's something that I'm really thinking about a lot, and I think that'd be a great thing to do. So putting my hat in the ring and saying, please, maybe explore that. I love it. I think it's a great thing. I wanted ShiftLab has been testing some different ways of doing community services in a way where it's done purposefully and we wrap around and all with this intent. We know that these things save money. We know that they create better outcomes. We also know that you described the Hopscotch, that ShiftLab is struggling to find the funding that it needs for its programs. I wanted to ask why. I mean, is it state government still lagging behind on recognising the impact of this program and that their funding that already exists just doesn't fit what you're doing? I was wondering if you had any comments around why isn't this more, why these just tested, why it's not just more common practice?
That's a great question, Rosie, because I actually did also have some potential slides around that. Something that our CEO is really passionate about is incubating these, they're not necessarily always new ideas, but just different ways of working. And that, to be honest, it's more relational practice. And it's something that a lot of community organizations, particularly big ones, but also small ones as well, can really be stuck between a rock and a hard place with, because they're contracted to deliver a certain service. Even if the contract has some flexibility in it, the time and permission to be able to step outside that kind of transactional model is really lacking. And so I know that there's so many passionate people who work in our sector who want to do everything they can to help people, help clients. But unfortunately, there's not even time sometimes for teams to connect with each other, let alone do anything else over and above. Or even if there was something like we have a D&I initiative or something like that, like these staff members, their time is kind of built. It's like a lawyer, like they're just billed by like the 15-minute block sometimes. So I think there's really something there in our transactional system of service delivery for community services, which is not creating those enabling conditions for the more relational work and the more kind of bespoke, kind of individual focus programs to flourish. Also, we don't have in WA kind of an equivalent to like Taxi or Nesta in the UK, or New Zealand has a couple as well. Like they're all over the world. These these bodies which are testing out these kind of high impact, high social impact kind of models. We need a good ideas unit because, like I shared earlier with the Work Foundations grant from DEWR, even though on the one hand we were meeting with the policy arm from DEWR and having all these meetings and bringing all these partners to share with them about Hopscotch and how they could how they could kind of evolve their grant making. And then on the other hand, we saw this grant come out and I feel like it was sort of, there was some making some of the right noises, but for the most part, it was still really rigid. And so there's nowhere for us to go and say, hey, here's an idea like Hopscotch. Here's a great idea. We need a kind of cross-government, interdepartmental kind of space, because Hopscotch can meet quite a few different needs, but they all belong under different departments. So unless it's in your remit, it's very hard to invest. So yeah, we need a more holistic kind of grant making, I guess, environment, or even, there's some models of, community grant making where the decisions are actually made, by the sector, by the community, who will benefit from those grants. So yeah, I think that's a systemic issue that we're all kind of facing. And I know the challenges that social enterprise face because they have to stay viable as a business, and then they also want to make this social impact. And so they're almost trying to do those two things at once, and it's, even more complex. So I really want to acknowledge that too.
Yeah, well, I think we're all in the same boat, I think. Did anyone else have a question they wanted to ask Kira?
Or any comment on that? I mean, we could probably talk about that all day.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Kira, we have a chat about our approach and how we do it together, because for sure we're at Waysac are figuring out how we tackle this beast of government. And like you said, they're so risk averse.
Yeah.
Like there's pockets of people who really want to do good stuff, but they just don't have the support. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that we can't do it. I'd love to have a chat about that. Is your next step for this program to do it again? Is that what you would like to do? And maybe that's why working with social enterprise is interesting to you, because you might be able to build another cohort the same or bigger.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
idea.
absolutely. I think like a 2.0 version, which looks at supported employment, is really attractive for us. And we also are not the experts. We have a model, we have an appetite to learn and to work together.
Kylie or Anastasia, did you have any comments to raise?
I saw the lawyer comment in the chat.
Hi, nice to meet you all. I'm Anastasia. Yeah, I'm working on more than just in the fashion space. At the moment, I'm working with Circular Seed to put forward a soft plastics solution to like the alternative to red cycle. So
Yeah.
you've got me thinking a lot of, I designed the new system, the social and environmental solution, and Circular Seed is more just the innovator and the deployment of the technology. So at the moment, I'm looking to work with Buddy Up at the collection centres. And Buddy Up is going to need supervisors for the teams. So if we ended up having collection centres at every shopping centre, for instance, then we're going to need a lot of supervisors trained. So I would love the opportunity to go further, like your next layer. Like, what are the training certificates that are going to be needed? And are any of the women in your cohort interested in doing, another certificate that would lead them into this possible future, work, working, in, I guess it would be disabled assistance, or, some sort of certificate that would feed into that. So I'd love to keep in contact to see if we can extend that next phase for you, and like see if we can find the grant money to fit like the training that is needed for the future employment opportunities. And that is social enterprise with social enterprise, right? So we've got Buddy Up working with you, and that, yeah, we just create that, more deeper, and that's where you're saying holistic solutions are not being considered. So what I'll be offering with the soft plastics trial is multiple, like we've got Noongar Chamber of Commerce considering, the factories being run by Indigenous groups. So yeah, where is the grant for something so holistic as that environmental and social stuff? So it may be a number of different grants that we apply for in the chain of things to make these things come alive. So yeah, your collaboration with social enterprise is really important. Anyway, that's just my...
Thanks, Anastasia.
Just as well on Anastasia, I think also was mentioned by Kira in your presentation that you worked with the Community Training Council, and they're kind of supposed to be that intermediary who would be figuring out what skill sets your potential employee should be doing, and doing that sort of connector role between industry and training providers. And in my other role outside of Impact Seed, I work for an industry training council as well, a different one, the community services one. But that's who you might be connecting with, maybe the manufacturing end of things. And they'd
Agree.
be like doing some of those hard yards, finding you the trainers, finding you the skill set, helping you deliver it in your workplace. I do know that Loop had an experience last year, I think working with Workforce Australia and the Industry Training Council to do something similar. So Loop and Sarah was just on the call with us. They do a lot of in-house training for their employees. So it's definitely something we can talk about more and see who we should get in touch with.
I was also interested at the beginning when you talked about, sorry, I don't know if this is linked, about it was the Workforce Australia program, right?
Yes.
You said didn't work, because we've got that feedback quite a bit, actually.
Yes.
They were
I
going
spoke to
do
White Box Enterprises in Queensland as well, because they're an aggregator of social
Yeah.
enterprises over there, and they said people really struggle with that one.
Yeah, and they were going to join today, actually. We've got a couple of good contacts there. But most of the bigger social enterprises that we deal with, that we have in our community here, were like, I can't even deal with the application.
Yeah.
That's all. It's too hard, and there were too many conditions on what you could and couldn't do. So
Yes.
again, I think that's like, again, something for offline to talk about why that
Yeah,
doesn't.
I think so too, Olivia, because we did write them a letter, and maybe we could share that letter with you, and
Yeah.
you could write them a letter too.
That would be good, because if
Yeah.
I'm speaking to, sorry everyone to talk about advocacy again, but like something I can then go to federal government or state and say, look,
Yes,
great
absolutely.
idea.
These are systemic things we want changed. So
Yeah,
there's all enabling conditions that we need opened up. I mean, that's a big part of our work here is, yes, we can do our little demonstration project. It can go perfectly, like when we can control all the conditions. Real world is a different kettle of fish, and a lot of that is, at that level.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Can I also ask a question? Sorry to jump to do two questions. The personal ID thing, can you just quickly elaborate on what that is? Sorry, I don't understand.
Oh, sorry. No, it's nothing special. It's literally like your passport, your driver. So many people don't have a driver's license, so then they don't have any ID to be able to prove their identity. Then they can't get other clearances for work. So you can't, it's really hard to get a police certificate, all of those kind of things that you need for the community sector.
Of course.
Yes.
Right. That's great. Yeah, awesome.
So it's going back a step to go, hang on, like they can't even do the form because they don't have the thing that they need to do the form.
Yeah. And the work that we did in Europe, which was very similar to this, helping predominantly men who worked in factories who were going to be made redundant because of technology. So these were people who like blue collar workers, low education, low confidence. They didn't even know how to fill out forms, or if they did, they got really stressed out about doing them. So like that was just immediately like, how are you supposed to help someone be trained or learn new skills when they just can't even deal with a computer, or just doing a form? It's very stressful. Or if you've been so in trouble, like testing is quite traumatic, so things like that. So it's been wonderful to hear about it. Super.
Hi, Duncan. I've got to run to another meeting in a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Thank you so much. That was just amazing, so interesting, and it's got me just like thinking of all lots of different sort of ideas. But the space that I'm sort of exploring and interested in is for women who have been in leadership positions or skilled positions prior to kids, and then get hit by the hurricane of becoming a parent, and then there just aren't as many opportunities available later, part-time opportunities, all that kind of thing. But I loved hearing about from your cohort all of that self-exploration and who am I now, and all of that coaching side of it. Like that would apply across it pretty much applies across everyone. But it's definitely the funding, isn't it? Because I'd love to come up with a way of creating some sort of work consultancy or something, some sort of production house where people can come in, do the work, and it's offering the same level of service as a commercial business, but it's within a family-friendly environment, something like that.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Kylie, I've just put the email address of Claire from Human Quotient in the chat for you.
Oh, cool.
Human Quotient is based on the East Coast, and they are doing something like that. And we've
Awesome.
spoken about hopscotch stuff and kind of shared some learnings.
Cool.
Rosie Hegarty, who's Perth
Rosie.
South,
Oh, yeah.
yes, connected us. So yes, please take her
Awesome.
email
Thank
address
you.
and
Yeah,
reach out.
I'll have a look. Yeah, like I say, super fun,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
super early researching,
And
but I
one
really
of
appreciate the session.
one of our mums in Hopscotch actually was in that situation, and she came through Hopscotch. So it was interesting to see the diversity. All of the
Yeah.
participants were from Aboriginal backgrounds, or there was one with a Maori background, and the others were migrant backgrounds.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Kylie, that's one of our number one social enterprises that we want someone to do.
Oh, yes,
Totally.
I'll do
We
it. I'll do
can't.
it.
Yay.
We're
So
talking in our
exciting.
team all the time saying, "Oh, well, I would. I'd love to." And also, it's not announced yet, but it will be soon that we've got some funding to run an incubator, and we're so excited. So you
Ah,
can apply because
Awesome.
you can, if you've got a strong idea, that's
yeah,
the sort of, we can help you develop that through our incubator. So
amazing. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
cool. Well, I'll keep talking to
we'll
you
have
because
it.
I just think there's definitely the need. It's just
Mm,
how can it be
mm,
commercially viable and
mm.
yeah.
Thanks for joining today.
No worries. Thank you for organizing it. I'll run, but thank you, Kira. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, thanks, Kylie. I've just put my email in the chat as well. Really, really
Oh,
would love to hear from anyone who wants to talk further. Yeah.
thanks so much.
Hi there, Marie. Did you have any comments as well? Sorry, I haven't asked you to speak yet.
There was a few questions from Ree because, oh yeah, because he didn't start at the beginning, so you might need to
Oh,
catch
yeah.
up and then come back. But if you want to just reach out to me, we can just have a chat sometime. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Anyone? Yeah.
And thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming as well, because I don't think we've met before. So thanks for coming to a Waiting event, Marie.
Very cool. It was a real deep dive, so I do apologize if I was talking too quickly and had too many slides, but it was a very generous amount of time, and I thought I want to hopefully give you something of use, and everyone would probably find a different part useful. So, but I really appreciate, this time that we've all shared together and making these connections, and hope to stay connected and look forward to chatting Olivia as well.
Thanks, Kara. I thought it was beautifully presented. I was like, oh, just luxuriating in your lovely way of presenting.
It's very kind.
No, it was awesome, Kira. Thank you. It's just
Thanks,
so
Jen.
many layers to unpack, and it's
Mm.
almost, I feel like it's like a silent crisis in terms of all the different demographics that are involved in getting back into work and the flexibility and the transitions, and there's just not enough spoken about it because there's so many different markets, like apprentice, like the amount of, I think, support that goes into, say, apprenticeships now. It's just become so big, and this transition that you're talking about, there's just so much needed. And I think to a degree, not enough people are talking about it. Do you feel that way? And it's like a silence of this isolation that people are feeling.
Isolation.
It's an emotional isolation,
Absolutely.
on so many different levels.
People feel very alone in it.
Mm.
Yeah. And don't realize that there's actually so many other people struggling with it. And because, like you said, it's sort of this silent crisis.
Silent
I like
crisis.
the way you've put it.
And
Yeah.
I know that. I just thought that. I thought it's lovely, Jen.
Yeah.
it is. And even, the amount of effort that could go in from government around job share, there's just so much
Absolutely.
talent out there, and yet companies, I don't think, are they're not motivated. Like, what's the incentive for more companies to bring on job share?
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Smart work design.
smart work design. There's an interesting, have you heard of the 5 Hour Club?
No.
So there's these two ladies in the UK who someone posted a post about a year ago around parents returning to work, and they've, in a matter of months, they'd created the 5 Hour Club, and it's a job board for companies all over the world to post jobs to say, parents, we can only work 5 hours a day. So there are some companies, lots
Brilliant.
of companies coming on board, which I found was interesting.
Something like that is really helpful, isn't it? Like a platform to kind of raise awareness and for people to actually share opportunities. Yeah, very cool.
I can even see corporates coming into, in terms of corporate responsibility, sponsoring your initiatives and what you're doing to employ someone to pay for the providers to navigate through that, because that's such a beautiful
We are looking
thing
at
to be
lots
doing.
of different possibilities. The big boss has, taken it to Canberra, and then we've got, speaking to our kind of donor partners and things like that. Just finding the right person with that care factor, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you for your time today, Kira. Really appreciate it. It's been amazing.
Yay, and have an amazing Easter break, everyone. Hopefully you all get to have a bit of relaxo.
Thanks, Kira. You too.
Thanks, Kira.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye.